Good morning.
Good
My name is
morning.
CJ Davila. I'm the Executive Director of the Florida Green Building Coalition. We'll go ahead and get started here. FGBC is the leading green certification program in the state, having just surpassed 28,000 projects. As an independent certifying organization, FGBC does not promote or recommend any products or services. Our Member Spotlight webinar series highlights FGBC members and the green products or services that contribute to our mission of promoting the green built environment within our state. You will be muted today, so if you have questions or would like to find out some additional information, just use the chat feature or the question and answer button. I will be reviewing those, and Lor will take questions at any point along the way. And with that, I'd like to introduce Lor Krueger, who's the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for SioGreen. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lor.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's going to be safe. Today, we're going to talk about SioGreen. SioGreen is not a new product. It's been out for about 14 years through the R&D testing phases. Was formally introduced to the business and commercial market, professional market, if you will, in 2018. It's gone through over 70 different prototype innovations and improvements. Since we introduced the Pro Series in 2018, we have less than 1% failure rate. And a lot of those failures were due to loose connections from shipping. We've never had a bad heat exchanger. And that's the key and the core to our product. So with that, I'm going to go and share my screen. I've got some slides we're going to look at. And just want to know that everyone can see. Are we good?
You're good.
Okay. SioGreen introduces the first innovation in heating water in over 100 years. Let's see if we can get it. But before we start, historically, electric tankless water heaters have earned a bad reputation. So try to forget about nearly everything you know about typical electric tankless water heaters. But remember this image. If you remember nothing else about the presentation, burn this image into your memory. SioGreen has developed and patented the world's only electric tankless water heater to use a clean quartz tube heat exchanger and infrared energy. And in the absence of metal heating elements, the SioGreen tankless water heaters are maintenance-free. And that's a big deal. Metal heating elements are the #1 cause of water heater failure. When water comes in contact with heated metal elements, scaling and corrosion forms on the elements. These elements must be descaled annually, costing hundreds of dollars. If they're not maintained, they will fail. If you neglect to clean the sediment from the bottom of your tank, bacteria can begin to develop. This bacteria can make you and your family sick when you use the water. Tanks should be flushed annually. So what's inside your water heater? If you don't have your water heater serviced every year, this is what's happening inside. When we asked homeowners, when was the last time you had your water heater serviced? Most people say never. And this is a very gruesome video of an actual water heater. So just keep in mind, people aren't even aware that this is happening inside their tank heaters. And if they see this video, that's a real game changer. Even in the new innovations with the tankless, you still have issues with corrosion. So one thing in common, it's the same old technology. It's been over 100 years and we're still heating water with some form of metal heating elements. And after 100 years, they still corrode. There's a hidden cost to the mineral scale. Scaling acts as an insulator, causing that water heater to work harder and harder to heat the water. A scale buildup of only 1/16 of an inch can reduce the energy efficiency of the water heater by up to 50%. The water heater will eventually fail due to excessive heat caused by the insulative properties of scale and can cut the useful life of the heater in half. So now that we identified the problem, what's the solution? This is just a hint. We're going to introduce you to the SioGreen Quartz Infrared Electric Tankless Water Heaters. A little bit of history. The original design concept was created in 2008, and a patent was applied for on the nanotech carbon-coated quartz tube heat exchanger, and the patent was issued in 2014. In 2018, the final production Pro Series models were introduced to the market, and after thousands of installations since 2018, we have less than 1% return rate. These are the three patented innovations. This is what sets us apart from every other water heater on the market. We have durable quartz, far infrared energy, and full modulation. And this truly is the first major breakthrough in heating water in over 100 years. Innovation number one is the patented quartz tube heat exchanger. The patented nanotech carbon-coated quartz tube heat exchanger has eliminated all resistance metal heating elements. There's no corrosion or scaling inside the clean quartz tubes. There's no opportunity for dry fire, and there's no power surge. And above all, they're maintenance free. These tubes are not glass, they're actual quartz. The major advantages of quartz over glass is its high temperature tolerances and resistance to thermal shock. Quartz is also an excellent conductor of electricity, while glass is an insulator. And we all know what happens when you pour cold water on heated glass. This is not glass, it's SioGreen quartz. About 8 years ago, I was at the SioGreen's office before I started working with them, and we wondered what would happen if we put a torch on that tube. Had no idea. That's me holding it with the channel locks. That tube got into a cherry red hot, about 1300 degrees, and we poured cold water on it with absolutely no thermal shock. That was amazing. We also have incredible long-term performance. This is an actual heating element array that was installed back in 2010 during our R&D phase. It ran 9 hours a day, 365 days a year for over 7.5 years in a nail salon. No scale, no maintenance, no loss of efficiency. That's over 24,000 hours, which is equivalent to over 22 years in a typical household. We have this one hanging on the wall. Innovation 2, infrared energy, radiant heat. The sun heats the earth with radiant infrared energy. We heat large buildings with radiant infrared energy. And now we heat water with the same radiant infrared energy. Understanding far infrared is a very, very simple everyday example. When the sun heats the solid earth, the heated earth heats the atmosphere. That's radiant heat. In and of itself, the sun's infrared energy is relatively harmless. But when you magnify the infrared rays, they are amplified and intensified and produce extreme heat. That's as simple as we can make it. The sun's infrared energy is amplified through the magnifying glass to burn paper. Infrared energy is amplified through the patented carbon-coated SioGreen quartz tube to heat the water. It's the magnifying glass effect. So the bottom line, SioGreen patented nanotech carbon-coated quartz tube heat exchanger generates and amplifies safe, far infrared energy inside the quartz tube, heating the water. This process will heat the tubes to over 250 degrees in a matter of seconds, and the water never touches any corrosive metal components. So why infrared energy? This is going to get down into the woods a little bit, but SioGreen infrared technology uses amplified infrared radiant heat. But there's another major advantage to infrared: heating water at the molecular level. Water flows in clusters of 5 to 12 molecules. When the far infrared rays are applied to the clusters, the molecular structure of the water is altered due to resonance absorption. The water clusters are excited and broken down into individual molecules. The infrared energy is then able to heat the molecules on an individual basis, ensuring the water is thoroughly heated at an accelerated rate. The water gets hotter faster and more thoroughly. This allows SioGreen tankless water heaters to operate much more efficiently. Innovation 3, true modulation. There are a lot of competitive products on the market that claim to have modulation. Typically, these are 2-tube, 3-tube tankless heaters, and their modulation basically is turning one of those tubes off and turning it back on. The problem with so-called modulation, when applied to an electrical resistant metal element, remains the same. Metal heating elements cannot respond instantaneously to changes in power. The heat adjustments happen gradually. So turning the element off completely or adding cold water to maintain the temperature is often their inefficient solution. SioGreen uses an intelligent computerized internal controller. Each quartz tube has 2 sections. We monitor each section of each tube and adjust the amount of power required to reach and maintain the exit temperature setting. This video is going to show you how we have a cold water inlet tube temp. When cold water enters the unit, we're going to reach about 259, 260 degrees inside that tube. The hot water outlet tube temp is going to be around 179. The preset exit water temp in this example is 130 degrees with a 50-degree temperature rise. And you'll be able to see how we continuously adjust the temperatures. If you pay attention to the heat meter, it's going to raise up to about 260 degrees. The exit temp is set at 130, the top number, and the actual temperature is the bottom number, and it never fluctuates. As we move to the exit hot water tube, we're down to about 179 degrees. And you can see how it's modulating and changing every second or two. Green building friendly. According to the World Green Building Council, green buildings preserve precious natural resources and improve our quality of life. Included in the overall objectives of green building is efficient use of energy, water, and other resources. SioGreen delivers on all 3 counts. We have proven energy savings up to 60% of water heating costs when compared to a tank heater. We have proven water savings. These units can be installed anywhere in the building. There's no venting, and it does not have to be permanently fixed in a location, such as a tank. Point of use flexibility allows the units to be installed almost anywhere in the building, saving wasted water in the feed lines, waiting for the hot water to arrive at the faucet. And there's obviously much more efficient use of space. It eliminates the bulky storage tanks to save that space. So what does this mean to you? Number 1, energy cost savings. Number 2, maintenance cost savings. And number 3, space savings. Here's an example how we can make the claim of 60% savings on heating water. We're going to compare a 50-gallon storage tank heater to our Sio 18 Pro Flex. Based on a 15-minute shower, using 22.5 gallons of water with a 1.5 GPM low flow head, the standard 50-gallon tank takes 34 minutes to recover, to reheat the water inside the tank. At 5.1 kilowatts in the simultaneous mode, you're going to be using total energy usage of 5.1 kilowatts on that 15-minute shower. SioGreen Pro, based on the same 15-minute shower, the actual runtime and the 17.6 kilowatts, it's rated at 18, but it's actually about 17.6. At a 60-degree rise, we run for a quarter of an hour, 15 minutes. The actual metered usage with modulation, we're really only using about 8K. So based on a quarter of an hour, that's 2 kilowatts for that same shower. Side by side, the typical tank heater costs 69 cents per shower. The SioGreen, 27 cents per shower, and that's a 42 cents or 60% savings on every shower. Flexible installations, point of use options. SioGreen water heaters do not require venting and can be installed anywhere in the building. This results in the following savings. You save water. Eliminate the waste of cold water in the feed line waiting for hot water to arrive on long remote runs. Saves plumbing material. You only have to run a single cold water pipe to the heater, eliminating the second hot water pipe in all the fittings. Save energy. Eliminating the long wait for hot water, the heater runs much less by delivering the hot water much sooner. This is an example of our energy savings. We're going to show you a meter showing the amperage and the kilowatts. And this is Sio 18 Pro. It's rated at 18K and 80 amps. Even at full flow with a 45-degree rise, the Sio 18 does not draw more than 12 kilowatts and 50 amps. That's a substantial reduction from its capacity. There is no power surge on startup, and the Sio 18 reaches 54 amps before leveling off under 50. So we're going to show you the video. It's going to show you the preset temp. It's going to show you the actual water temp, which doesn't fluctuate by more than 1 degree. Then we're going to look at the amps and the kilowatts. Then we're going to shut the unit down and restart it to show you there's no power surge. It's set at 115. Our actual temperature, 114.2. And this is the amps and kilowatts. Kilowatts on top, amps on the bottom. 11.3 kilowatts and 11 or 47. Now we shut it down. And now we shut it back up or turn it back up. It peaked out at 54 amps compared to 80, which is rated for. Maintenance cost savings. There's no corrosion, no maintenance. Electric tank and tankless heaters should be flushed and descaled annually, costing hundreds of dollars each year. SioGreen units will pay for themselves in just a few years on maintenance costs alone. And of course, no more bulky water storage tanks. Compact design cabin fits flat on any interior wall. It's ideal for apartments, condos, mobile homes, where storage space is at a premium. We're tested and certified. SioGreen Quartz infrared electric tankless water heaters have been tested and certified by some of the leading testing facilities in the world and are in compliance with all U.S. and local building codes. We're certified by Department of Energy Title 10. It conforms to NSF 372, which is the lead content or lead reduction class, complies with the UL 499, and we're listed with the California Energy Commission. And if anybody knows anything about California, that is not an easy task. Those people are out of their minds, but we qualified and we are listed. We have basically 3 point of use models. We have an IR30, which is a 3.4 kilowatt, 110 volt single sink application, hand wash only. The IR260 is the same dimensional size as the IR30, but it is a 220 volt, 6K single sink application, but that you can run an outdoor shower, an outdoor kitchen, but it's designed to be a single sink. Then we have the IR288, which is an 8.8 kilowatt for a single bath. I have a 2-bedroom single bath house. I run the 288 at my house. I can run the shower and a faucet at the same time with no issues. And it's ideal for apartment and mobile home applications.
Lor,
Yes.
we had a question. Will you be sharing a copy of the presentation? Would you be able to send that to me so that I can distribute it to them?
Yes, I can send you a copy of this on a Dropbox.
Perfect. Or you can just save it as a PDF and we can send it that way.
Yeah, you're not going to get the videos, but I do have a PDF version as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, so yeah, we'll be sending it out to everyone after the presentation.
Perfect. Now we get to the whole house or multiple bath commercial units. The SIO 18 Pro is 18 kilowatt, 220, whole house, multiple bath, multiple utilities, or even large offices. The SIO 18 Pro Flex is going to be replacing the 18. It's a switchable from an 18K to 14K power supply. It's programmed for 18K when it's shipped. There's a couple of adjustments on the front of the unit, which will switch that down to 14K, and that's at 60 amps versus 80 amps. Now, the unit has to be wired for the 80 amp version. Even though you're going to switch it down to 14, it still has to be wired to the maximum capacity. Now, all the SioGreen units automatically adjust to 208, 220, or 240 volts. No adjustment, no special settings. The PC board and the brains automatically adjust. Now, here are the specs. The IR30, 30 amps, 10 gauge wire. We can get into the warranty a little bit later. The IR260, it's a 30 amp double pole breaker. You run 2 hot leads to this one. 10 gauge wire. IR288, it's a 40 amp double pole, 8 gauge wire. The SIO 18 Pro Flex, it's 2 40 amp double pole breakers and 2 pair of 8 gauge. You're running 4 hot leads to the unit itself. Flow rates. I have an issue with flow rates. Everybody talks about flow rates. I'll give you one quick anecdotal story. I had a customer down in Miami. He said, we're getting beat up on these flow rates. And I gave him a couple of classic examples. I asked one of the guys, Tim, I said, what was the water temperature coming into your house yesterday afternoon at 2:30? He said, well, I guess it was around, no, exactly. What was the temperature? Well, I don't know. Eileen, what was the water pressure coming into your house yesterday morning at 8 a.m.? She said, I have no idea. What is the basis of these flow rate tests? It never gives you the water temp. Very seldom does it give you the water temperature. You have no idea what the plumbing size is. So you have to take the flow rates with a grain of salt. Now, our flow rates are tested inside our own lab, and we have all the stats on that. Some claim to give you 5.5 gallons per minute with a 27 kilowatt unit, and it said up to 5 baths not running simultaneously. Well, what does that mean? You know, you might as well say you can do 20 bathrooms as long as you're not running them all at the same time. Flow rates are, basic marketing. Our warranties are pretty unique. Our warranty is a full unit replacement warranty. If the unit fails while under the warranty, SioGreen will replace the entire unit according to the terms of the written warranty. Warranties are valid only if the unit was installed by a licensed contractor according to published installation instructions. You cannot buy these in the big box store. You cannot buy these online. They're sold only through licensed contractors and plumbers. The Pro Series, the point of use, 2-year full replacement, 5 years on the electronics and heat exchanger. The SIO series is same 2-year full replacement, 5-year electronics, and 10 years on the heat exchanger. Our design is very simple. If you open the case, very well laid out. There's 5 basic components. They're all plug and play. You've got 2 sets of the plumbing. You've got the heat exchanger, the PC board, and the breakers. So these are the advantages. We eliminate the metal heating elements and all the corrosion, eliminate the bulky storage tanks. We're maintenance free, 98% thermal energy efficient, power surge protected with internal circuit breakers, backflow prevention standard, no dry fire, endless supply of hot water, never run out due to tank limitations, no wasted energy keeping the hot water or water hot in a tank when not in use, lower operating costs. The units only run when you use hot water, and they'll last up to 4 times longer than traditional water heaters. Now, the power surge protection with our internal circuit breakers, in St. Pete, we get a lot of electrical storms. We had an apartment complex that was replacing all of their previous electric tankless water heaters. Every time there was a severe thunder or a lightning storm, they get a power surge, and they would literally melt the terminal blocks inside these units and either replace those for $300 or replace the unit. We started installing our SIO units with the internal breakers, and every time there was a subsequent storm, those units would still burn out, and ours would just trip the breakers. Open the cover, flip the breakers back on, and you're good to go. And Florida has a lot of lightning strikes. So, information, the website, the new website is SioGreenPro.com. There was an older website up there, and I think it's still up yet for the old retail customers. Originally, these were actually sold online, but that is pretty much outdated. My direct contact is Lor@SioGreenPro.com. Now, to wrap up, we're going to look under the hood and show you step by step how these units work. When hot water is in demand, the flow sensor relays the flow and activates the heater. A half a gallon flow rate will turn the unit on. The temperature controller activates modulation to achieve the required exit temp. As you saw in the video, the early tubes are much hotter than the later tubes. Each tube has two sections. Water flows through each section of sequential tubes and is progressively heated with infrared energy. The exit temperature sensor measures and adjusts the flow to maintain a constant exit temperature. We're more concerned about the temperature of the water versus the flow rate. It'll only fluctuate by a couple tenths of a gallon, but it's important to maintain the temperature. So that is automatically adjusted to maintain the exit temp. Multiple relays in the intelligent computerized internal control monitors each section of each tube and applies the minimum amount of power necessary to achieve and maintain the preset exit temperature. Now, as I alluded to earlier with the other modulations where they have 2 or 3 or 4 actual tubes with the metal heating elements inside, they can only monitor 2, 3, or 4 regions or areas of the heater. We've got 2 banks of 4 tubes each, 2 sections to each tube, which means we're monitoring 16 different zones in that heat exchanger to optimize the minimal amount of use of energy use. It's a far different scenario than with just 2 or 3. The temperature controller continues to monitor exit temperature preset and actual water temperature and feeds the data to the modulator to adjust to the quartz tubes. And finally, the temperature sensor relays the water temp to the computer to maintain the maximum flow of the preset heated water. When the flow sensor detects an absence of demand, the unit shuts down and goes into standby. Again, there's my contact information. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, Lor, I did get a question on the cost. Can you give them a breakdown of what a unit cost as opposed to a water heater, some kind of comparison?
We don't set the prices for our dealers, but I can tell you that the most expensive unit, the whole house unit, actually retails to the plumber at about under $1,000, $800 to $900. Installation varies depending upon the setting. So they're very competitively priced. I'll give you the best analogy one of my plumbers gave me. They used to sell a product called True Tankless, which was an extremely expensive unit. They referred to that as their Lexus. All the other ones that they sold with the metal heating elements were considered to be throwaways. When we brought SioGreen into their shop, he looked at it, analyzed it, and said, you know what, this fills a huge niche for us where you can't afford $3,500 for a water heater, and you don't want a piece of junk, for lack of a better term. And he put us into the Cadillac class. We don't compete price-wise because we have such a unique heating system. It's a premium water heater. But we're still well within the competitive ranges of other heaters on the market. Your tank heaters are probably going to be a little bit less But then you've got maintenance costs you have to consider. Flushing and descaling every year could cost you $200 a year just on maintenance. The same way with the tankless heater. You do have to descale those metal heating elements, otherwise those units will burn out early. So that's what we're talking about.
Can you share stories about how SioGreen behaves or drains charge of lithium battery during a power outage? Behaves or drains charge of a lithium battery during a power outage?
Yeah, I've not had any experience with using the SioGreens, on a battery or a backup system. You can run them off a generator if you got enough amps, but we've never really had any experience on the lithium battery arrangement. I'd love to find out.
And then, do you have a comparison to tankless gas flow rates, cost per heated unit, etc.?
Okay. Yeah, the gas tankless are going to be more expensive right off the shelf. The flow rates are going to be better. So you've got a larger, higher going in cost, but you will get better flow rate. But you also have to have availability of gas or propane. Has to be vented. So you're limited as to where they can be installed. But gas tankless, they're good units where they fit. We've got some states now which are banning all gas appliances, California being the prominent one. You cannot put in any gas appliance, whether it's a range, a refrigerator, air conditioning, it's all going to be electric. So we think, and we are being advised that there's going to be a huge swing to electrification.
And are they Energy Star qualified?
Okay, that's a good question. And this is a good story. Energy Star does not have a classification for electric tankless water heaters. Gas tankless, gas tank, electric tank, all qualify for Energy Star ratings. Electric tankless does not have a classification. And here's the story. They claim because we can put our unit anywhere in the house, we don't have to have it limited to a specific spot. They can't establish a baseline to do a comparison. So therefore, even though they admit we're more efficient, this is on my website, the whole story, and the report or reply from Energy Star, because they can't be rated on a baseline, they can't offer Energy Star, even though they're more efficient. So no, you'll never see Energy Star. Now, with regard to energy guides, the FDA, I think it is, regulates that. They don't require an energy guide for any electric tankless unit over 12 kilowatts, which pretty much limits them all to the point of use. Now, what about the whole house units? We, on our own, established our own energy guide through our testing. In comparison, if you look at a 50-gallon tank heater, their energy guide says it'll be about $440 a year. Our competitor that did actually list an 18 kilowatt unit is at $290. Our Sio 18 tests out at $203 annual energy usage costs. So Energy Star, you'll not see it, and that precludes us from certain projects. I don't know if the code will ever catch up to technology, but there's nothing we can do about it. And other tankless heater companies have lobbied heavily for several years to get them to change that standard, but they claim they just don't have a classification for it.
And also, Laura, are they manufactured in the U.S.? And if so, where's the location of the warehouse?
We're located in Clearwater, Florida. These units at this time are manufactured in China. That's where we import from. We are going to be moving all the assembly to Clearwater as soon as we're able to do that financially. We can buy all the components in U.S. supply chains, with the exception of the quartz tube. That coating on the quartz tube is a real nasty application. So we would still be buying those outside the country. We've got multiple sources for those, but currently they're manufactured in China. We have about a 60-day lead time from when we order to when we receive the product here at Clearwater.
And did you calculate the UEF?
Yeah, the uniform energy factor is 95.95, 0.98. Another interesting story. We had these tested at Intertech, which is a huge multinational testing lab. We sent our SIO-18s up there, and it took them 2 to 3 weeks to figure out how to even test this, because all of the Department of Energy guidelines are based on resistance elements, and we don't have resistance elements. So they were trying to figure out how to test quartz infrared. They came up with the number of 0.93, 0.95, and they admitted that that is probably understated, because there's no way to compare the metal heating element, which is a conductive heat, to the quartz infrared, which is a radiant heat. So with that being said, we actually do have a UEF of 0.95.
And then one of our certifying agents, Randy Kahn, is asking if the raters don't have that information, then they won't be able to recommend the product. Would you be able to send it to FSEC for testing?
I guess, what we're trying to do right now is keep our product available on the market. And it's just a company decision without spending a whole lot more on testing. These tests are running anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 per unit. Not to say that we won't. If there's a demand, we certainly will. And if that's what it takes, that's what we'll do. So we need to kind of test the market. We've got a couple of point of use units that we haven't really went through that testing because most states don't require it. But I do understand, the raters. And when you get into the architects, engineers, designers, you have to have your ducks in a row, and that's just the cost of doing business. So we don't have that at this point, but we would consider it. Let's put it that way.
And does anybody have any additional questions for Lor? Great. I wanted to thank Lor for joining us today. I did get some comments saying what a great presentation you did, Lor.
I appreciate that.
The presentation will be sent to everyone, as well as the recording will be posted to our YouTube channel. And if you haven't had a chance to, please go to our YouTube, look up Florida Green Building Coalition. And if you subscribe to our channel, you'll get updates of new content that comes online. So with that, I want to thank FGBC member SioGreen and Lor Krueger.
One more comment. I just want to reiterate the website, siogreenpro.com. That's got a lot of information. All of our product specs are on there. Our submittal sheets are on there. So there's a lot of really good information. All the videos are on there. And I've got individual manuals that we can supply, which gives you basically the overview, a competitive comparison with 5 other companies. Our 18 kilowatt unit will outperform the competition's 20 and 24K units until you get up into that 35-degree rise. So that unit outperforms units that are at 20 and 24K with much heavier circuit breaker and power requirements. So that's a really kind of an interesting sheet. So I invite all of you to check it out. Check out the website. It's a good thing.
Thanks. And I was also reminded that we do have an upcoming webinar on October 11th, which is the second Tuesday of the month at noon, and that will be on smart home technology. So be on the lookout for that invitation. All righty. Thank you, Lor. Thank you for everybody joining us today. We hope you found it interesting and informative. Thank you.
Feel free to give me a call anytime. Drop me an email. We get all kinds of questions, and we'd be more than happy to answer them the best we can. And if you try our SioGreen units, you'll never look back. I came out of retirement to help Henry with this project, and I've never seen a product that could be called a game changer. Most are improvements, variations. This is totally different, and it's amazing. So having a ball. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.